Well, a key plank of federal Labor's election plan is to accelerate electric vehicle sales. But the move has been criticised by the coalition, which says its plan to waive a 5% import tariff on electric cars would have close to zero impact on prices or uptake. And as some Australian households make the transition to electric vehicles, there are many things they need to consider and prepare. Joining me now live is the CEO of St Baker Energy Innovation Fund, Roger Whitby. Roger, thank you for joining us. Firstly, we know that state and federal governments are investing in electric vehicle infrastructure. How does our uptake of these vehicles compare to elsewhere around the world?
Yes, good morning. Well, electric vehicles are now more affordable and accessible than ever before, and the sales in Australia pretty much doubled last year, but that's from a very low base. So of the 1 million new cars sold in 2021, I expect about 20,000 were electric, so that's roughly 2%. In Europe, about 18% of new cars are now plug-in electric vehicles. So we've got quite a lot of catch-up to do there. Ironically, Australia has record-breaking uptake per capita of renewable wind and solar generation, but we're falling well behind in the race to electrify our transport system. And that's a key plank to reducing emissions overall. So the rest of the world is focused on 100% new electric vehicles, new vehicles being electric by 2030 to 35, and Australia needs to make sure that we get behind that.
Well, it's interesting. It's certainly a critical part of federal Labor's election pitch in terms of electric vehicles. Based on that, what challenges do you think that the country faces when it comes to uptake?
Well, I think there's four key concerns, I guess you might call them. So the first would be range anxiety. A survey by the Electric Vehicle Council of Australia found that 52% of drivers cited the lack of charging infrastructure as a reason for them not switching to an electric vehicle. However, that situation is changing pretty rapidly and, needs to be a focus for policy decisions. A number of charging network operators have already started rolling out public charging stations. A great example of that is Australia's most heavily funded EV charging operator, that's EV Networks. It already has 50 ultra-fast DC charging stations available to the public, and they'll launch another 300 to 500 new stations over the next 2 years. And they already have enough, there are already enough fast charging stations deployed to enable a journey, all the way from Cairns to Adelaide without worrying about access to that fast charging. But it's expensive and the investment needs to be made ahead of the uptake of the vehicles. And so government assistance in funding those networks is a critical point.
Sorry, just going to ask you, because we are running out of time. Have you got any tips for any Australian families looking to transition to an electric vehicle?
Look, I think we should all be planning for an electric vehicle to be our next car. So, keep up to date with the increasing range of models that are becoming available. Look out for the public charging stations as they're built in your neighbourhood. And there's a number of apps that can help you to do that. And maybe if you're buying a new house, ask the question, is it EV ready? You might want to think about a slightly higher rated wiring circuit to your garage. I think they would be the key things.